Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So I'm going to continue in this video on this little, I guess third-party series that I'm doing. So the first video was, if you're in a marriage or your twin is, specifically if you are, because the Divine Feminine leads the energy. And so this video, I've also had like a ton of questions on this topic as well. So as I said in that video, a lot of this type of content, it's a trigger warning. It can definitely create, the ego to really push back. So just saying that like I did in that last video, I'm not trying to trigger anybody. I know that these aspects of the path can feel really hard. So when we're talking about having the third party situation with the twin, when the twin is around, they're in your physical life, they just kind of duck in and out of your physical life, they never actually really leave, they trigger you, when they come around, but they're also in either another connection with somebody else, or they're in several other connections with other people, kind of in that player energy. So what's going on with this? Basically, I've had a lot of questions, how do I navigate this? How do I deal with this? What do I do? What about setting boundaries? Self-love, all of these sort of things. So, when we're in these types of situations, or even when we're in a situation where it feels like the twin is always around, but they're never fully in that committed state, or they're never like kind of meeting you where you're at, vibrationally, or just in your life in general, and they kind of feel like they don't really have their shit together, all of those sort of things. However this plays out, right? It's still a third energy, even if there isn't an actual person that is in their life, right? It's still a third energy if something is coming up in regard to you needing to set boundaries and be self-loving. So be discerning with this topic. However it fits. It's going to be unique for everybody. So in these situations, in these dynamics, which are really common, and I hear a lot of the feminine, not gender specific, just being like, I really want a commitment, I really deserve a commitment, I deserve better than this, I have to just like shut this situation down with them, I have to kind of just push them away, I feel guilty about doing that, or I don't really know how to navigate this because we're actually finally in a good energy together, but they're still kind of, having these other, third-party situations, whatever those might be, and all of these sort of things. I hear this a lot. So the thing is that we have to remember that the twin, no matter what it is, if this is your true twin flame, and again, I always feel like I have to precursor this, we're not talking about karmic situations that are abusive in any way, that are toxic in any way, that are treating you really badly in abusive, toxic, shitty ways. That's a karmic connection, and it's not a twin flame connection. The twin flame connection wants the best for you, right? The twin flame dynamic, it's not a connection. The twin flame dynamic, your twin flame is your same soul. They want the best for you. And so the triggers that are coming through from them, right? The reflection that is coming through from them is to raise you into your best self, to raise you to the best version of self is the point, right? Whereas a karmic relationship is going to feel draining because you're going to be going round and round and round and round. I've done a lot of work about karmic relationships, and at some point I'm going to get into some videos on that and do a course on that as well. But karmic situations, it feels like you're just getting worse. It feels like it just never freaking gets better, and you're just going round in this pattern. And it's not necessarily just with one romantic partner. It can be with several romantic partners. It can also be with family and situations like that. So you should be able to feel the difference, right? I know that in the beginning of this dynamic, the twin flame can a lot of times look like a karmic, and it can have that similar kind of karmic, you know, flavor, for lack of a better word. But soon on this path, you will start to see that every time you're triggered by the twin, that it's pushing you to elevate within self, right? That they're actually showing you something that is going on within you. And a lot of times, especially in the beginning, these things will be obvious. You'll be like, damn, I recognize myself in them, right? This happens a lot with twins. Damn, they're acting just like I used to act. I remember when I used to act like that, or I remember I used to run that pattern and they're running it, and now they're reflecting back to me, and I thought I had already dealt with that, but apparently I didn't, right? Whereas the karmic it's gonna feel more toxic, right? And a lot of times the karmic situations are abusive, and they're going to feel draining, okay? And the karmic situation is going to push these one or two same lessons over and over and over again until you break free from them. And it's relentless in that way. Whereas the twin is going to reflect back to you all of your light as well as your shadow. It's not going to only be shadow sides and shit, right? Whereas the karmic is mostly kind of always showing you what's wrong. The twin's going to show you what's right and what's out of alignment. And although the twin situation can feel exhausting and tiring and annoying and frustrating and heartbreaking, it doesn't feel toxic, right? Because we have an awareness on this path that, okay, they're showing me. And so that means that I need to deal with me. Whereas even though the karmic, they're reflecting back to you this pattern that you keep running, they generally reflect it back to you in a way that feels very draining and that feels just hard, and it doesn't really feel loving, right? So that's just off the cuff. So we need to be discerning in regard to all of these sort of stuff as we're kind of feeling our way through if we're experiencing a twin flame path. The awakening is key, you know, the awakening is key. So anyway, the reason that the twin is reflecting back to you these commitment issues specifically is because they are showing you where that you are not committed to self. I know that sucks. So where am I not committing to myself? Where do I feel like I want this person to commit to me so that I feel stable in this relationship with them, because I don't necessarily feel committed or stable in my relationship to myself, right? These are these like nuanced areas that we just have to be just like, damn, like in our face, calling ourselves out, you know, unfortunately. And it's not unfortunate, but it feels unfortunate when we just have to like look into the mirror and be like, okay, so I'm obviously not committing to myself. I don't like to admit that, but that is what the twin is reflecting back to me. And they're also reflecting back to me if I'm not in a self-loving space, because I'm allowing them to come in and out of my life while they're still with other people, then that means where am I not only committing to myself, but where am I not holding healthy boundaries for myself? Or where am I not loving myself? You know, where within me do I feel like this is okay to have this kind of dynamic, right? So this is where this thing becomes a little bit of a slippery slope, because this is going to be different for everybody. Not everybody is going to be triggered by whether or not their twin is committed to them or not, right? Because this is also a program, right? Commitment is also a program, and how commitment shows up in our romantic lives is also a program that we're running, right? This is why when you shift into the higher frequency 5-dimensional states of unity, these things fall away. And at that point, you're not concerned about the commitment or like the attachment or the dependency or any of those things, because you've transcended them. And the ironic thing is, as I've said before, once you've transcended that stuff, it just stops showing up in your life altogether, right? Because there's no more fear of, well, if they're not committed to me, then therefore that means that they're doing X, Y, and Z. or if they're not attached to me, then that means, you know, I want them more than they want me, and so blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, all of these ways that romantic paradigms play out in the 3D. And so we want those same romantic paradigms to play out in the same way with the twin flame in the physical reality, right? But when we're having this pushback, this back and forth, and we're having like this third party situation come in, and we're having the, you know, the commitment comes online, and the, you know, the boundaries and the lack of self-love and all of these sort of things, you know, then we're still kind of trying to fit this connection, this dynamic, into a third dimensional paradigm of what relationships look like based on what we have already experienced. And so the funny thing is, the ironic thing about this is that when you start committing to yourself, you're not going to give a damn if they're committed to you or not. When you start loving yourself, you're not going to give a damn whether they love you or not, right? When you start setting healthy boundaries for yourself and you just feel good, you're not going to care if they're like trying to break through your boundary, right? Because they're not going to be able to, right? And when you get into this energy of just this freedom state of, well, yeah, I'm good, you do you, I got me, I'm good, and I got me. And it's not mental, as I said before, it's not like a belief system, it's an actual frequency that you will embody once you come into inner union, right? Because you've shifted out of all that fear. And all of those fear-based energies are what are running those programs that are still saying, well, the twin has to do this and this and this and this, and if they don't do these things, then that means I have to do this, right? Unfortunately, this is a 3D program that we're all running. The awakening process is shifting you out of all of those programs. And this is what I'm saying, why this is such a paradoxical path. It's crazy how paradoxical this path is. It's because when you transcend all of that stuff and you stop expecting romantic relationship to show up in your life in these specific ways based on what you've been experiencing in your 3D programming and past relationships, you transcend that and you come into inner union and you come into this state of unity consciousness, none of that stuff is going to come with you. The same with all of the other stuff that I've been talking about that's not going to come with you. The lack, the fear, the sorrow, the blah, blah, all that sort of stuff, jealousy, the envy, all of that. I'm going to lose them. I need to hold on to them. What do I do to keep them? Maybe I need to get my hair cut. Maybe I need to work out more, blah, blah, blah. None of that comes. None of it. It all just drops off. And you rise in frequency, and then you're just good. This is the freedom state. Then you're just good. You love yourself. You're not trying to do anything to attract anybody, to like bring anybody in, to prove anything to anybody, you know, to set this boundary or that boundary or whatever else. It's just now you're just solid and you're just good and you're in a union frequency. And when you embody this frequency, that's when everything just shows up naturally, because you're not in that expectant energy of how this is supposed to look. You're not in that attachment energy of how this is supposed to look. And when you're not in those energies, it is absolutely incredible how a relationship between people just is in a natural flow, harmonious state. And this is the paradox, right? This is the paradox. And so it's basically when we're coming at this specific topic where we're looking at, I need to just, you know, and I don't like to say don't care, because, you know, people sort of, you know, kind of create their own meaning about what that means. And of course, I'm never talking about children or pets, right? This is not what I'm talking about when I'm saying no attachments and stuff like that. And not caring, right? I'm not talking about kids, and I'm not talking about pets. I'm talking about your masculine and other aspects of your life that you will feel start to vibrate out of your resonance. But so when I'm saying you need to just let the masculine be, and you just don't need to really be concerned about what they're doing, It doesn't mean that you don't care about them. It means that that's an aspect of you, right? So it's not like you can't care about you. Of course you care about you. But it's saying that I see the reflection. Thank you for showing me the reflection. And now I'm going to deal with that reflection within me. I'm not going to deal with the reflection that you're showing me because I can't work this thing from the outside in. I can only work this thing from the inside out. And that's the thing. And so, yes, we can set healthy boundaries. You know, we can have all of those commitments and all of those things, but they need to be for you and only for you, with you, within you, right? So it isn't saying like, okay, until they commit, then blah, blah, blah. It's saying that I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to my journey. I'm committed to my awakening. I'm committed to rising in consciousness. I'm committed to rising into my best self, into my best life. And I'm committed into shifting into my highest timeline. That's it. You do you, right? And you can do whatever you want over there. But if this is what you're going to do, that's not my highest timeline, right? This is the thing, right? So we need to flip our perception on this, right? We need to flip what the mind is saying, because the mind is saying the twin isn't committed, or the twin is, you know, doing whatever with other people, or they're coming in and out of my life. So in that situation, we just have to pause and say, is that my highest timeline? Is my twin reflecting back my highest timeline to me right now? If they are doing all these things? No. What are they reflecting back? They're reflecting back that I'm not committed to myself, that I'm not in a self-loving place, that I'm not setting boundaries within myself, and that on some level, I'm still running a program that says that unless you do all of these things, this isn't a, you know, true romantic partnership in the way that I've experienced them in the past. And so I need you to show up for all of these things, which means I'm placing an expectation on my other self to show up in these ways in order to show me that I'm being validated, because now this relationship looks like a traditional relationship that I've experienced in the past. You know, the thing about this path, this journey, it's just so, it's like, it's not something that we've experienced before in our physical reality. And it's so difficult to put into words a lot of the times. I try to, but it's so experiential. But it's difficult to explain what it feels like when all of this shit just drops out of your vibratory resonance and it just stops showing up in your physical reality. And it's difficult to describe what anchoring in this higher vibratory state feels like. You know, I can only use words that come up, you know, but it doesn't really, you know, obviously describe that through the screen. You know, freedom, love, unconditional love, high vibration, abundance, all of those things. But that is literally what it is. And so instead of being concerned about what the twin is doing, you just need to pull your energy away from them, right? Away from them. It's your energy still. It's just your energy showing you where you're abandoning yourself on some level, or where you're having some expectation of them, right? There is no them. And pull that expectation back to yourself and sort of look at what is it that I am trying to gain, or what is it that I'm trying to prove, or what is it that I want from this other person I'm perceiving as another person, in order for me to act like, or to feel like this you know, dynamic with them, you know, is doable, is workable, based on the paradigm of relationship that I've experienced in the past. So whether or not, you know, the twin is back and forth and all of these sort of things, it's still, and I'm just speaking about like being with you and then being with other people, or then, you know, not committed to you and all of these sort of things. It's still having that place of saying, okay, you know, is this my highest timeline? Is this the reality I want to create? You know, is this the reality that I want to create? Most of the time it's not. Otherwise I wouldn't be getting these inquiries and these, you know, wonderings. And so it isn't about feeling bad or feeling guilty that you pull back from the twin. You know, it isn't about like, you know, but I feel bad if I have to do this, or if I pull back from them, or they were in this really great, you know, energy with me, the best ever, but they were still, you know, dabbling with other people. And so, you know, what do? I want to just break it off, but then I don't want to, like, you know, end things and all of these sort of stuff. This is still coming from that place of being a fixer or a savior, or like not wanting to leave them behind, which I did a video on. It's still coming from a place of saying, you know, I can't do me without them. You know, I can't do me without worrying about them. Like, I need to save them. I need to make sure they're okay. Or, you know, I need to make sure that I act in a certain way so they still know that I'm interested in them, or that I still love them, and I don't want them to think that I don't love them, and all of these sort of things. This is when we're still in that place of really focusing on that external person, and we have shifted out of understanding that this is an energetic dynamic. And this whole thing, if you guys can take anything huge away from all my videos, this whole thing is about learning to work with energy. You are an energetic being. This is all energetic, right? It's all energetic. And this is why you hear things that say, just don't even pay attention to the 3D masculine, you know, unless they're showing you your trigger every now and then you can work on that on, you know, do your own thing on your own. Otherwise, you don't really need to pay attention to what they're doing at all. The only thing that you're paying attention to is the reflection that they're giving back to you. And so whenever they give the reflection, there's your work for however long for you to move through that next thing. But otherwise, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because this is a you and you game. And so as soon as you come back home to you and you start coming back into inner union with self, all of your external, you know, interactions with the twin, they're going to continue to show up in the ways that you don't really want them to show up, because you're giving what you don't like focus, right? You're still giving so much power to that external person and what they're doing focus, that it's keeping that separation consciousness very much alive, which is keeping you repeating the same reality that you don't want to see. So it's not really a matter of like, well, you know, should I, you know, still be with them if they're doing this, or, you know, should I ask for this or whatever else? It's literally about saying, is this the life that I want to create? Do I want to be in a third-party relationship? Most people don't. No. You know, is this my highest timeline? That's it. Like, that's your gauge. Like, that's your line in the sand. And it's not about being like mean or selfish or bitchy or whatever else. It's about being self-loving. It's just what it is. It's about being self-loving, and it's about being in love with the self. All of these actions that the masculine is reflecting back to you are just saying, love yourself, come back to you, right? You love yourself, you come back to yourself. That's going to be the reflection that you see, right? I hope that helps. I hope that makes some sense. Once you start vibrating out of all of these lower paradigm fear-based energies, like I said, the interaction that you have with other, you know, romantically and platonically, is going to be at a different frequency. It's going to shift, and you're not going to be pulling all of these things up there with you. It's not up there, but, you know, for the visual, because they're just not going to be part of your vibratory resonance anymore. It's just not, you know, it's just not going to transmute anymore. So we really need to be discerning, you know, in these situations, in these third-party situations. You know, I see the reflection that you're showing me. You're showing me that I'm not committed to myself, or you're showing me that I'm not loving myself, or you're showing me that I'm super jealous, or that I'm, you know, I feel super abandoned right now, or I feel really rejected right now, and whatever those things are. And so let me come back into me and let me do me, and that's it. And the more I do me, and the more I do me, and the more I do me, and I stop paying attention to what you're doing, the more I am shifting the one energy that is both of us, right? That's the thing. That's why we have to really be focused on the energetic. This is one energy that is just reflecting the same energy back to it. And so the more we're in that feeling of like, oh God, they're in a third-party relationship, or oh no, they're not committed to me, or oh no, I need to set another boundary, or well, wait, I need to like do this other thing. Well, I don't know how to do this other thing. It's still like going power, 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 power. I'm just handing you all the power, just handing you all the power. And you're just over there reflecting back to me. Yep, you're just giving me all the power. Stop doing that. You're just giving me all the power. Stop doing that. You know, regardless of whether we see our twin as like this beam of light, you know, or we see them as just like having all these issues. If we're focused on what they're doing all the time, it's still putting them on a pedestal. It's still saying, I put you first. And although that has been what we have been taught largely in the 3D, it's not how it works. It's not how it works. You do you first. That's when the thing falls down in the airplane, right? The breathing thing, the plane's going down, oxygen masks fall down, and they say, don't put the oxygen mask on your kid first. You need to put it on yourself. You need to put it on yourself because you need to be able to breathe to help everybody else. That's what this is, right? You need to be good with you in order for you to have the best of everything showing up around you, right? That's just the way it works. It's just the way it works. So I hope that that helps, guys. I hope that brings you some clarity. I know that this is a touchy subject. I understand. This is one of the big ones, yeah, on this path for sure. I think this is one of the huge ones that almost all divine feminines at some point hit. And I think it's one of the ones that we kind of go round and round in the most. And third party can be any third energy that we feel is coming in between or having some disruptive state. But we need to look at that as, yeah, as just pure reflection. You know, what is this showing me? You know, and a lot of times we think like, well, it can't be showing me because, you know, I don't have addictive issues. A lot of times you need to go deeper than that. A lot of times it's just showing you where you don't have a healthy boundary, or you're not choosing your highest timeline, or you're not choosing self-love, right? It's not like to say like, okay, well, my divine masculine has some sort of addiction, and so they're doing X, Y, and Z, so what does that have to do with me? Well, if they're reflecting back to you all of these things, right? Lack of self-love and lack of self-worth and, you know, lack of boundaries and all of these sort of things, because you're just kind of still dealing with that behavior. Sometimes we have to go deeper and see if that reflection is not exactly what they're doing, but on another level, it's what you're doing in reaction to that within. So that's it, guys. I hope that you have an awesome day.